Hello and welcome to our fabulous listeners. I'm your host, Moira Geary, and this is your Positivity Project. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an author and speaker, and I have a personal development company. And I specialise in teaching people who are stressed, overwhelmed, procrastinating, and are driven by fear how to live more enriched, courageous, and calmer lives.
Now, let me ask you about making decisions. Some people find it very difficult. Why is that, do you think?
Oh my goodness, because of what might happen if they make the wrong one, I think is the big thing. But you're absolutely right, Bibi. It can be, and in fact, when I was working, in practice and one-to-one with clients, that would have been something that I would have worked a lot with clients. And this would be really big decisions like, do I take the redundancy, do I not, etc. That type of stuff, even around, careers, education, even relationships. So the first thing to say is that I don't ever have the answer. But again, I'm good at guiding people through a process that can help them to get to their best outcome. And when I work with people on that, it doesn't actually happen in the room. They won't come. Well, they will come to the outcome in the room, but they'll just feel it subconsciously. But I say to them, just take some time, and then you have to text me within a week or 2 weeks, so we decide on a time frame.
And is that time a time for processing that thought?
Absolutely.
And adjusting to the newness of it?
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk you through that in a minute, if that's okay,
Yeah,
if you'd
please.
like me to. But just to come back, because we're talking there about big decisions, so big decisions that will have a big impact on somebody's life. However, it's also really important to acknowledge that every moment of every day we're making decisions. We're constantly making decisions. People watching this video, they've made decisions already, whether they like you or like me or don't like you or don't like me, or
Oh, God
what we're
save us.
talking about is a lot of rubbish, or whether it's absolutely amazing. So we are constantly making decisions. It's something that we do every moment of every day. So decisions are really important because they direct us in life, and they obviously are going to have a big impact on the results we get. But the big decisions, and when somebody's at a crossroads, and it's almost like a crossroads, but for me it's almost like a Y rather than a crossroads. So to walk somebody through the process, basically if I was to make a very big decision, so I see myself sitting here or standing if I was standing, okay. So I'm in the now, and I'm in the decision-making process where I've got conflict going on in my head. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I move forward? Do I stay back? So we start to work on a timeline. So the timeline is that my past is behind me and my future's in front. But in my future with this decision, there actually are two options.
That's the why.
That's the why. Yeah, okay. So I come back to here and I look at, okay, so this is option one, and I can see it out there. And I'm also very conscious of a week's time, a month's time, 3 months' time, a year's time. So just be aware that the timeline, it goes long, and it's the same on this side. This is decision number two. So what I get the clients to do, and anybody that's watching this, if they want to actually go through the process, it will help them. I do talk a lot about this concept of association. So association is that when you actually are imagining that you're in something. So you're in your body and you're in a situation, you're looking out through your eyes. You can see what you'd see, hear what you hear, and you get a sense of what it will feel like to be in that situation, okay? So we're going to use that concept going through the two sides.
Okay.
So we're going to pick side one first, so closing our eyes, and we go into our body imagining what we're feeling, seeing, and hearing. And we imagine that we start to walk out on one prong of the Y, so one decision, and you step out into the point where you've made the decision. And then the more important bit is that you keep stepping out, staying in your body, going out beyond that. And it's really important that the person goes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, a year, but all the time getting a sense of what it feels like to have made that decision, what will be happening, who they'll be meeting, what will be going on in their day, and what life will be like.
So in other words, at a practical level, if the problem was, should I take the redundancy or should I stay on in order to get a bigger pension at the end? One of the parts of the why would be, after 1 week, if I take redundancy, I'll have all this free time. I might get panicky and bored, but I'll have free time. And then after a month, I might start to do a course and reinvest. Is it that sort of thing?
Absolutely. And while you're in those thoughts, remember, I've associated you into them. So you'll actually physically be feeling that in your body, because your subconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagination. So it doesn't know that you're not there. It thinks you're actually experiencing it.
Oh, that's a great thing, is
Yes,
it not?
it is. Yes, it is. Yes,
So
it
we
is.
can put, the Irish word is dalmalog, we can put the blindfold on the subconscious, can we?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's very powerful.
Absolutely, it really is. And that's why it's important not just to go to the decision, which is what people usually do, is
Yeah.
they go as far as the decision, they say, oh, I'll make that that decision and it'll be fine. But what I want you to do is go beyond it. So go beyond, and even if you need to go to 80, 90, 100, keep going out on the timeline, but stay associated. As you say, you're putting the blindfold on the subconscious and you're feeling the feeling as you go out through, and you get a real sense of what making that decision, the impact it's going to have.
And am I right also in thinking that while you're going through that process, you have to be aware of what's happening to you physically as well?
Exactly.
I mean, for example, I often find myself saying in classes about public speaking, the connection between the mind and the body is huge. And a simple example of that is when we get nervous in public speaking or any other area of that kind of thing, where do we feel it? Butterflies in the tummy.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what people would start to feel. It might be in their heart, it might be in their lower tummy. Lower tummy usually will be an indication of it's not safe. Heart will be one around, disconnected from somebody or something to do with love, usually. And if it's in the throat, often it can be about expression. So it's really interesting. And remember, we've only one line done here.
That's right. And you can teach all those techniques.
Absolutely.
You can teach all those techniques
Absolutely.
to your clients.
But
Let's look at the other line.
Yeah, so the next thing is you come back. It's important. You don't stay out on the line or jump over to the other line. You need to come back to now.
Okay, that is important.
Really important. And then from now, you associate back into yourself in the now. And now you look at the other decision and associate it. You go into the point of making the decision. And then you go again 3 months, 6 months, 9 months and down that route. But again, really connecting into what you just said. What does it feel like to have made that decision? What's the impact emotionally? What is the impact? And physically and environmentally. But the thing is that always what will drive us is how we feel. So what we're looking for here is to get somebody to experience the feeling of both decisions, because that's really what will help them to make the right decision. And then they come back to now when they've that done. And then I would work with the client a little bit more and we'd look at the pros and cons and the kind of logical reasons why they would go one way or the other. And then that would be a good 2-hour session actually when we do that one. And then the client I would get them to say to me, okay, when are you happy that you have enough time to make the decision? And then they text me or they call me to let me know what decision they've made. And anybody I've ever worked with on that process, they've always come back and said years later or months later, that was exactly the right decision. And I'm so glad that we went through the process.
So it's foolproof.
Absolutely. And by the way, anybody listening, I don't do one-to-ones anymore. So, but there are lots of practitioners around and obviously come to an event if people want to, but I don't actually do one-to-ones.
But you can cover it in an event.
Absolutely. But I mean, some people will watch this video and they'll do it and they'll go, I've got it. They don't need me. And that's the whole thing about my work, BB. I don't want people feeling they have to come to me or whatever. This is about empowering people. This is about teaching people how to do this stuff for themselves. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I'd have to say it's consoling to know that you're there.
Yes, yes.